Greetings, everybody. I am Young Penitent, and welcome to my Icon Corner. Today I am departing a little bit from my normal routine. I am normally a live streamer, and I enjoy live streaming. There's a little bit more pressure on you, and I perform well under pressure. But I have decided today, since I really don't even want to do this stream, I am going to do it pre-recorded, and I have a lot to say to you. And the reason, well, one of the reasons I want to do it pre-recorded today is I will have fewer distractions in the chat, because I know that many of my viewers are big Brother Nathanael fans. And I am going to say some things today which are not necessarily complimentary of Brother Nathanael, as I have been in the past. Now, what do I have to say? Well, stick around and find out. Don't forget to like the stream and subscribe to my channel. And here we go. I am going to be reading today a letter which I have written. I wrote a letter to my Archbishop Kirill, who happens to be Brother Nathanael's bishop as well. And I wrote it out of concern for Brother Nathanael. Now, I had spoken to Brother Nathanael shortly before writing this letter, and we were trying to reconcile our differences, and it was clear from the phone call that Brother Nathanael had no intention of being reconciled. If you do not agree with everything that he says, then you will become his enemy, and he will attack you viciously. And many people have found this out online. And he attacked me viciously, verbally, over the phone. So it was clear, following the biblical precepts of how to go about reconciling with a brother, that he would not hear me in this one-on-one conversation. And so I wrote this letter to the Archbishop. I copied the letter to a few other people. And, well, I shared my concerns. And Brother Nathanael, his reaction, his response to reading this letter was to attack a friend of mine just as viciously, in fact, more so than he had attacked me. So it's clear that he did not hear me, and having brought several other people into the conversation, he would not hear them either. So today, what am I going to do? I am going to be reading the letter, explaining it, going through and bringing up basically showing receipts for what I wrote in the letter. So here we go. Buckle in. Buckle up. Here's the letter that I wrote. Your Eminence, Archbishop Kirill, bless. Now, stop. We're going to be going through this letter meticulously. I am under no time constraint here. So, who is Archbishop Kirill? Well, let me perhaps explain this in Brother Nathanael's own words, because he quite often refers to Archbishop Kirill. In his videos, in his streams, he shares with everybody how he has a blessing from his archbishop. He's always going over this. He's always kind of parading around the fact that he got a blessing from Archbishop Kirill. And so I'm going to share a piece of my interview that I did with Brother Nathanael, and how he explains who Archbishop Kirill is and how he has a blessing. So here we are. A little clip. I would like to know regarding Archbishop Krill, do you have a blessing from Archbishop Krill to be making the videos that you put up on YouTube?
Absolutely. I wouldn't even dare to start doing it unless I had his blessing. I went to Archbishop Krill and I asked him, I'd like to start teaching the Bible on the internet. He said, I encourage it. He didn't hesitate. I said, can I have your blessing? He said, yes, you have my blessing. Now I'm under Archbishop Krill. I have his blessing. Mm-hmm. And then again, anybody who has a problem, he says, you come and see me.
Okay. So he says, you come and see me if you have a problem. Now, I want to actually go back a little bit here and show this, see this letter that we are seeing. Every time I did an interview with Brother Nathanael, he wanted me to make sure that I was showing this letter to the whole world as a proof that he had a blessing, or it was just, you know, his validation for what he's been doing online. But if you actually read this letter, it's not really saying anything about a blessing for his activities online. What the letter is saying is that there's no objection to Brother Nathanael receiving the holy mysteries in other Orthodox churches. Okay? So, first of all, I think Brother Nathanael's making a mistake showing this letter to the whole world and constantly pointing to this letter and saying, see, I'm a monk, I'm tonsured, and I have a blessing to receive Holy Communion. It doesn't say anything about being online. This letter was written, from all appearances, so that Brother Nathanael could receive Holy Communion when he goes to other parishes besides the cathedral where he's often seen in San Francisco, or his home parish in northern Idaho where he lives. So, first of all, I think I might have made a mistake even showing this letter. It's not meant to be paraded around online. I don't think that's why the letter was written. Okay, so one mistake. Further, he says at the end, anybody who has a problem with it can talk to Archbishop Krill. Okay, very good. So he's inviting you. Oh, and by the way, why does he say, why does he have to have this letter? Why would a priest question whether Brother Nathanael is Orthodox, whether he's a monk, whether he can take Holy Communion? Why do people have this impression about him? There's a reason, and I'm going to go into that. I'm explaining why did Brother Nathanael feel it's so pressing to prove that he's an Orthodox Christian monk who can take communion. And so I'm going to explain where this comes from. And here is a article. This was written. This is an old article. This is from 2013. And it's about a ROCOR statement on Brother Nathanael. So you see Brother here, Nathanael, the picture, he's doing his street ministry, holding up a sign and a cross and an American flag. And there was, at that time in 2013, this is good to know. We need to know this. I'm not bringing up this dirty laundry for no reason, because we need to understand why Brother Nathanael feels the need to defend himself. Why do people have the impression that he's not a monk? So there was this letter written by the same Archbishop Krill who we've been mentioning. And it says, the Synod of Bishops of the Russian Orthodox Church outside of Russia has recently received repeated complaints about the activities of and statements made by a certain Nathanael Kapner, who lives on the territory of the Western American diocese, but has no relation to it. So already in 2013, he's not yet in ROCOR, according to this. The clergymen and laity of the Russian Church abroad are hereby informed that the actions of Nathanael Kapner do not have the blessing of the Synod of Bishops. Profoundly saddened by the state of his soul, we call upon Nathaniel Kapner to refrain from posting on the internet, to a life of repentance, of peace in Christ, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all. Signed, Kirill, Archbishop of Western America and San Francisco, Secretary of the Synod of Bishops. So he's speaking for the Synod here. Now, when I talked to Brother Nathanael on the phone about this, Brother Nathanael said that this letter was rescinded. The letter is no longer on the Synod website. It's no longer on the Western American Diocese website. So this letter was taken down. But it's still, the internet has a permanent memory. And so it's up on various sources because you just can't, the internet just does not forget. Now, interestingly, I saw recently on a post on X that there was somebody who emailed Bishop Luke about this, asking whether this was still in effect. Bishop Luke said on the email, now this is something, simply a post on X. This is not necessarily something that has a lot of weight. So take this with a grain of salt. But Bishop Luke said that this is still in effect. The Synod, he does not have the blessing of the Synod of Bishops. And he should not be posting on the internet. According to the Synod, perhaps Archbishop Kirill does give Brother Nathanael a blessing, and he is in his diocese. So I don't know how that works. You know, if the Synod and the Metropolitan don't like Brother Nathanael, but Archbishop Kirill does, can the Archbishop, maybe since he's in his diocese, give him permission? I don't know necessarily how all this works. But that is why Brother Nathanael always was showing this letter. That's why people have this impression of him. This is a little history that if you didn't know, now you know. Okay, now, further, Brother Nathanael said that if you have a problem with it, you can contact Archbishop Kirill. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. Here we have the diocese website. This is www.wadiocese.org. There's Archbishop Kirill, the Most Reverend Kirill, Archbishop of San Francisco in Western America. If you want to contact him, there is a contact button right here. Click on that button. And here is a form. Now there's a mailing address. There's phone numbers, or you can just simply email Archbishop Kirill through this form. This again is www.wadiocese.org. Put in your email, subject, comments. Now, they do read these. I know that the Archbishop reads the letters. He will not, in all likelihood, he will not respond to you, but he will read it. And they pay attention to what people send in. They take it seriously. Anything that people are reporting. And I know multiple people who have contacted Archbishop Kirill with complaints about Brother Nathanael, and in general, nothing is done. Archbishop Kirill defends his monks. He defends his clergy as he should. He should have their backs, so to speak. But people do have complaints, and he hears them, he reads them. So there you go. If you want to contact him, you have that. Okay. So moving on. What do I have next? The first article, let me read. I'm going to go through this whole letter. So let me share screen again. Page 1 of my letter. And I'm going to read it. I would like to express my concerns regarding our dear Brother Nathanael, hereafter BN, in hopes that you will be able to provide wise pastoral guidance to address my concerns. I should note that when you are writing to a bishop, you should be respectful to the utmost, which is what I'm trying to do here. I don't think you can discern in my entire letter any sort of anger. I'm not doing any of this out of anger. I have peace in my soul. No anger, no blaming, just straight facts. Now, the first article of my letter, my first concern was, I have recorded numerous interviews with BN over the last several years in which BN has expressed opinions that are clearly contrary to the Orthodox faith. One claim that he has made is that Orthodox Christians who were received into the church via chrismation are not Orthodox Christian and should not be receiving Holy Communion. I am not a doctor of canon law, but it has been pointed out to me that the canons of the ecumenical councils clearly state that this is a viable method of reception into the church. I know that you yourself also bless this method of reception in certain instances. BN has stated that when one is received through chrismation, you might as well be smearing your forehead with Crisco because it isn't chrism. This is, quite frankly, a blasphemous statement. Pause. Yes, Brother Nathanael is a blasphemer. And that is part of the reason why I have to create this stream, because I do not want people blaspheming, especially Orthodox Christians, the holy mysteries. And I continue. After this interview was aired on YouTube, in which these statements were made, BN called me and told me that people were contacting him with anxiety over having been received into the church through chrismation and that he was helping them and setting them free, quote unquote. Now, I'll note here as an aside that people do have anxiety when they are not baptized into the church, when they are received via chrismation only. And this is one reason why it is a good practice for everybody to be baptized when they're received into the church, because they will not have that anxiety. Now, you can blame people who maybe bring up that you should have been baptized. You can blame those people, but people, I don't think this is like, you can't talk about this. It's not necessarily that kind of situation. We have to be able to talk about these things in it. And I'm not going to not talk about it just because of your anxiety. Sorry. Now, continuing, I understood by what he was saying that he was connecting these faithful with priests who would be willing to give them corrective baptisms. So that is just how I understood it. I do not have any proof that that's what happened, but that's the way I understood what he was saying. Okay, and I'm going to show some proof of what he said there. I had an interview with Brother Nathanael in which he made these statements, and many of you probably saw that interview, which I have now taken down, by the way. And the interview was titled "The Crisis in the Orthodox Church." I've made that video private on YouTube. You can no longer see it. I don't want people getting the wrong idea that maybe Brother Nathanael has authority to say these kind of things. So I'm going to show this clip to give context, and now I can explain it. And then if anybody out there is wondering about this issue, they will know that chrismation actually is a viable method of being received into the Orthodox Church. So, here it is. Let me cue it up for you.
Baptized by the Methodists or by the Baptists or by the Presbyterians, that they are now chrismated in these new calendar modernistic churches, that they're now Orthodox. I said, that's impossible. You're not Orthodox. And really, you shouldn't be taking Holy Communion. because
Wow.
you have not been baptized. And they say, well, I've been baptized in the Baptist church. That's not baptism. That's a water ritual.
Okay, you've made quite a claim here. Maybe
No,
we should
it's
unpack
not a claim. It's an orthodox assertion.
an
It's not a
assertion.
claim.
You made an assertion. Let's dig into it a little bit. So it is clear that okay. You can tell at this point that he is getting a little frustrated with me. Okay. There are historical precedents for receiving people into the church through chrismation that can't be denied. First off,
I don't deny that, but these are exceptions. We don't
right.
we don't enter orthodoxy or love or worship our God in the orthodox fashion by those things that are exceptions. We must go by the traditional rule.
Right.
Traditional rule is the apostolic canons, which specifies what orthodox baptism is and how you become orthodox.
Okay.
Except you be born of water and the Spirit, you shall not enter into the kingdom of God. I didn't say that. I heard about somebody saying that
Somewhere.
So let's just stick, okay, with the basics, and not exceptions, Daniel.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, basically, you enter the church, the body of Christ, true life through baptism. This is your new birth.
Yes, you're regenerated through Orthodox baptism, which is being immersed 3 times because you're entering into the 3-day burial of Jesus Christ. So you die with him, and you're buried with him, and you rise with him. This is how the apostles established what Orthodox baptism is. And then you are sealed with the Holy Spirit. It's a pledge of your eternal inheritance. And that chrismation is attached to the baptismal service. But let me get back to this, and I don't want to stray and get anybody upset and ruffle any feathers here. And that is, we begin our learning of the Orthodox Church through knowing the divine services, the order of services, which is established after the temple worship in the Old Testament. So this is the extension of the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, into the New Covenant. So I think I just want to stick with that, and I don't want to speak any further about the chrismation issue.
So maybe I would let that clip go along too long, but you get the idea. And I talked to Brother Nathanael about this on the phone after that interview. And I told him I disagreed. And he said no. And I said, you should recant that statement and you should go and make it public that you can be received. This is written in the canons of the ecumenical, derived from ecumenical councils, that you can be received through chrismation. It's one of the viable methods of entry into the church. And he denies it, and he continues to. In my most recent phone call just last week with Brother Nathanael, he continued to double down on this claim. He does not walk it back. And so this was a cause of it was a huge scandal. One of the priests who was watching this said this is not orthodox. A priest who had seminary education said this is not orthodox. This is actually heresy. I don't go so far. I'm not really the one to say heresy, but it's maybe heretical, I guess you could say. A heretical statement. I mean, I don't go so far as say he's a heretic yet, because we don't know that he's been, the church has not necessarily asked him to repent of this that we know of. So I don't think you can, we're not here trying to cast him out of the church or anything. We want him to repent. That's the whole point of this video. And I know you're watching, Brother Nathanael. I know you watch because I've seen you comment on my videos before. That was my first point, the corrective baptisms. And I think I've explained this enough. So I am going to go on and read the second article of my letter. And this second article has to do with something else that he has said in one of my interviews. So here we go. Continuing to read. On another interview, I asked BN what he thought about a certain opinion that had been voiced online in an article written for the website The Orthodox Traditionalist. The website is run by a subdeacon who was posing as Orthodox while in fact he belonged to an old Calendarist schismatic group. I was unaware of this at the time. The article stated that the old Calendarists are Orthodox, even though they are not in communion with any canonical Orthodox body. My question to BN was if he thought that this was true. BN affirmed that yes, this was true. I know that part of BN's background is that he spent time with an old Calendarist schismatic group, and when he rejoined the church, he most likely would have renounced their errors. It seems that, from the evidence contained in this interview, BN still holds to the heretical beliefs of his former confession that the old Calendarists are Orthodox. So, we know where the church is. We know where the church isn't. We know which churches we are in communion with. The church has clearly defined boundaries. And Brother Nathanael, for all the knowledge that he has and all of his talents, with all of that knowledge, he ought to be able to know where the church, the old Calendarists are not in communion with us. They're not Orthodox. Sorry. And I will prove it with the clip of him talking about it. But first, let me show this Orthodox Traditionalist website. I'll just make a brief comment about this. This is a well-made website. Looks nice. Okay, posing as Orthodox by Subdeacon Nectarios, but I don't want to give him too much shine. This is him right here. And here's this article that he wrote about a year ago in 2023, The Russian Orthodox Church Abroad and the Genuine Orthodox Christians of Greece, a History. Now, if you go to the bottom, he says in his conclusion, it's actually pretty well researched and well written article. I mean, I won't take that away from him. But he makes this conclusion at the end, and he says, what has been made clear by the Holy Synod of the Russian Orthodox Churches is that these Orthodox Christians in the old calendar jurisdictions who our saints stood at the holy altar and shared the most holy sacred mystery with are just that, Orthodox Christians. Boom. That's where I got this. That's the background of where I got the question from. So now I will show the video of Brother Nathanael making his comments about this. And let me find that clip. Which one is it? I'm looking for this clip. Is this it? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I saw an interesting article by Subdeacon Nectarios who thinks the old calendar Orthodox Christians are Orthodox. What do you think about that? Do you think they are?
They're Orthodox. They're not the Orthodox, of course.
But they're not
canonical, as far as I'm concerned. Of course, these are the Florinites. The Florinites did not want to go into the new calendar scenario, and they had 3 bishops. They weren't like the Masoretes; it was just one. Yes, they're canonical. So if he wants to go with them, fine. Let him go with them. I know some Deacon Nectarius.
Interesting.
I encourage him to stay with ROCOR.
I believe he's in ROCOR. I believe he still is.
Oh, okay. So I don't know what you wrote about.
Well, he was just saying that they are Orthodox, where if they're not, I'm not sure if that group is in communion with the worldwide Orthodox communion.
Okay, well, he's a subdeacon. He's clergy with ROCOR.
Yeah.
And so anything I said, just strike it out of the record. I mean, you can keep it on the air.
Okay, so he said you could keep it on the air. That interview was, I think it was published and then unpublished because the audio quality was not very good. So, Brother Nathanael, where does he get this idea? Why is he saying the old calendarists are Orthodox? I know from my interviews with Brother Nathanael that after he became Orthodox in 1987, and then after a while, he decided he was drawn to become a monk. Okay. Now, where did he go when he became a monk? He went and joined an old calendarist, schismatic, not Orthodox, not in communion with the Orthodox monastery. And we can talk about that right now. We can talk about that next. So I think looking at Brother Nathanael as a person, as looking at examining his character, the fact that he would join a monastery after being Orthodox for 10 or more years, he went and joined a monastery that was not Orthodox. I feel that this shows an extreme lack of discernment. And we can share some, here we can talk about what's next? We'll talk about so this monastery. So I'm going to share him talking about joining this monastery. That's the next clip. Let me pull it up for you. Here we go.
I got very attracted to monasticism, and I joined Pantaleon, Father Pantaleon's monastery in Boston, Holy Transfiguration Monastery. I was there for 8 years, and I went to Archbishop Gregory Dormishinsky for 2 years, 10 years altogether. So I was with Father Pantaleon for many years. It was a brilliant dude. He was a walking encyclopedia of Orthodoxy, in spite of some other things, okay, but yet I learned a lot under him, a tremendous amount under him. So I just wish, they weren't in a corner, saying everybody else is wrong, but they're right. But that's their shtick. I know it. I know the shtick.
So how did you go from Holy Transfiguration Monastery into ROCOR? What was your journey? How did that happen? Can you fill in the gap for me?
Okay, well, I went, I transferred it out of Holy Transfiguration Monastery into one of Father Pantaleon's disciples, Father Gregory, Archbishop Gregory, who was with the Russian Church, not the ROCOR. He was with ROAC, okay, which was an offshoot of ROCOR, kind of. And so I was with him for 2 years, and then stuff happens, and I went with the Jerusalem Patriarchate, and I was now in public ministry. And in 2007, I was encouraged by some Mount Athos people who were very holy and very knowledgeable to go with ROCOR. And I did, with Metropolitan Ilarion and and Bishop Jerome, who was the speaker.
That might have been the wrong clip, but you did say he went, you did notice that he went from Holy Transfiguration Monastery to the next monastery, which was Dormishinsky. So I am going to get to that eventually. I think I'm going to pull up another clip first. I think I shared the wrong one in the wrong order, but it kind of, you notice how he said things happen, and I'm going to get around to what happened. He says things happened. Well, no, let me just finish sharing that clip while I'm at it. I mean, so this is the one.
went with the Jerusalem Patriarchate, and I was now in public ministry. And in 2007, I was encouraged by some Mount Athos people who were very holy and very knowledgeable to go with ROCOR. And I did, with Metropolitan Ilarion and and Bishop Jerome, who was his vicar.
Okay, so that basically that clip shows his journey as a monk, and he mentioned Holy Transfiguration Monastery first, and I'm going to talk about them. So first, Holy Transfiguration Monastery, where he was for 8 years as a novice. Okay. So here is Holy Transfiguration Monastery. Kind of a nice place, you can tell, looks like that's probably in Massachusetts, no less. So this is probably a multi-million-dollar facility. And this monastery, by the way, they make good books. They're not Orthodox, but every Orthodox knows that schismatic monasteries make the best books. So, for example, this book, Ascetical Homilies of St. Isaac the Syrian, is a Holy Transfiguration Monastery publication. Also, our Psalter that we use is published by the Holy Transfiguration Monastery, the one that we use in the Russian Church. And it's probably the best, from what I understand, it's the best translation of the Psalter we have in English. So we use their Psalter. But let's show you, let's look. He mentioned Father Pantaleimon, and actually I'll show another clip of him mentioning Father Pantaleimon here. And so here we go. Let me share.
You have to read St. Athanasius the Great. We do not subscribe to this Augustinian. I won't even call him blessed. Seraphim Rose wants to call him blessed, fine. But that was basically an argument he had with Pantaleimon and some of the people in Hawk. And I was there when that was going on. Well, I was there in the aftermath of it. He started this thing that everybody sins in Adam. So whatever Adam sinned becomes yours and mine. This is ridiculous. How in the world can I be guilty of Adam's sin? I didn't do that.
Sure.
What we reap from Adam's sin is corruption and death.
Okay.
And our own proclivity to sin. Not his sin. And this is what St. Athanasius hammers home almost in every single chapter until you get it and you have to read it again.
All right. I kind of think I have so many tabs open. I kind of lost the one where he was talking about so let's just look at who this Father Pantaleimon is, who he was under. Okay. Share screen. And this is kind of dirty laundry here. So warning. This is Abbot Pantaleimon, sex scandal at monastery in Brookline. The monastery's founder and former abbot archimandrite Pantaleimon has been accused by his own monks of homosexual advances and activities in the monastery involving members of his monastic community. In the past, the monastery was under the jurisdiction of the Russians abroad, the Orthodox Russians abroad. In 1986, it left and joined an old Calendarist group in Greece under Archbishop Aksentios. Initially, in early 1970, the monastery had existed under the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. Okay, so having said enough about that, well, we see what kind of person that Brother Nathanael was a novice with, and who he basically learned how to be a monk from for 8 years was this character who eventually got deposed for molesting novices. And so also this, I played that clip of about this abbot, how Abbot Pantaleimon, he had this beef with Father Seraphim Rose, this theological beef, this public theological spat about Blessed Augustine way back in the 1970s. And I think so these two monasteries, East and West Coast, were kind of, St. Herman's and the Holy Transfiguration at the time were kind of had this public spat, and it was sort of a rivalry, East Coast, West Coast beef. And so that's where I think Brother Nathanael, why he's kind of not very enthusiastic about Father Seraphim Rose. I think that's where it comes from. It goes all of this goes way back. It's actually really interesting. I can't remember which clip I had. I might be missing out. I might have. I don't know where the clip is. Anyhow, moving on. So that was where he was for a moment, and then he went to this other monastery, Dormishenski, for a few years. And I'll just share a picture here for you. This is Dormishenski. And about us, monastery history. And there's Bishop Gregory, who has made controversial statements in the past. And if you read this little history, they're just confessing to how prideful and self-willed they are. They say, this person concelebrated with an ecumenist, and so we left that jurisdiction. And then this person, was involved with another, some this and that. These old calendarists are just so judgmental, and it's so prideful. They're just not very nice people. And that's where he was for a while, Brother Nathanael, for a few years. And what happened there? Okay, Brother Nathanael he said in one of the clips that I played, well, things happened, and then I was no longer at the monastery. What happened? He kind of skipped over that. And we can show keep showing all the, I kind of don't like doing this, but hey, I'm sorry, brother. You kind of invited me to. Things that people don't know about Brother Nathanael. So there's this article that I'll thank Priest Moses for sharing on his X. Milton, Brother Nathanael is a mentally ill, and I will talk about mental illness in a little bit, which Brother Nathanael denies. But in this little article, if you read, it says that Mr. Kapner was asked to leave, but he would not. Okay, Mr. Kapner was removed from yet another monastery. The police were called and Mr. Kapner was arrested. The monastery is in Buena Vista, Colorado. Months later, Kapner showed up on the street preaching the Lord to all who would listen. He dressed as a monk, claimed he was a monk of the Eastern Orthodox Church. During the time Mr. Kapner and myself were friends, he revealed to me that he was mentally ill, that he had OCD and bipolar disorder. He told me he was supposed to take medication to control his illness, but he told me he didn't always take his medication. Mr. Kapner told me he collected Social Security disability for his illness. He also told me he had been hospitalized for mental illness many times. He told me he had destroyed relationships with all his family and friends. This is coming from a priest of the old Calendarist, I believe. So, I mean, take that for what you will. When I talked to Brother Nathanael, I wanted to ask him about this on one of my interviews, and I kind of said this prior to the interview, I said, I'd like to ask you if you have a mental illness and do you take medication? Because this is something that people see on the internet and people have this idea about him. And he said, no, don't ask that. He didn't want to be asked. So there are accusations. There's quite a few people who have made statements, and you can dig it up online, that he does have a mental illness. He says he doesn't. I don't have I mean, if he wants to say that he doesn't, that's fine. It's just a label in the end. He denies it. I, on the other hand, I accept that I have a mental illness. I have a very serious mental illness, and I've talked about it many times. I don't deny it. People might want to come attack me and say I'm crazy, and I will agree. I am crazy. So that's the difference between you and me. Now, so should I continue on? So that's what happened with Brother Nathanael. He got arrested. He wouldn't leave the monastery. He had to get hauled out by the cops. So this is just, history, who he is. He's just, he has, if Brother Nathanael did have a mental illness, he might have borderline personality disorder if he were to be diagnosed. I'm not saying he does, but that's what we think it might be. So I guess I can continue reading my letter here. Oh, this is so tiresome. Most concerning of all for me is that BN is undermining the faith that our flock has in its pastors. I have seen him in his videos and on X, Twitter, telling people not to go to confession to this or that priest because I knew he had the habit of doing this online. I asked our catechumen whether he had tried to undermine his faith in Father Redacted, our priest and the pastor of our church. He replied that yes, BN had done this. I tried to ameliorate this problem by stating to him that I trust Father and have no problem going to him for confession. As we all know, a basic tenet of the spiritual life is that it is the faith which the penitent has in his pastor that confers help, and not necessarily the virtue of the pastor. BN has thus interfered with the delicate relationship between a pastor and a member of his flock. So there you have it. Brother Nathanael, when he gets mad at a priest, he goes and says, do not go to that priest for confession. And this is a very serious problem. And this is where I should have drawn the line. I was defending Brother Nathanael too long. And when he saw that he started going after priests like this who have people faithful under their care, I should have said no, but I didn't, and I am sorry for that. Now, this is just starting to drag on. Okay, so let me get to the end of this here. What now? Let me explain what brought this up. So, what am I talking about? We had invited Brother Nathanael on to come. We had invited him to our parish, and this was back when I had done one of my previous interviews with him, and me and my friends were kicking around the idea: should we invite him? Should we not invite him? And I had mentioned to Brother Nathanael when I was still on good terms with him. I said, "Hey, would you be willing to come out? Maybe if we would sponsor you to come to our parish." And everyone at the time thought it was a good idea. This was before he had, imploded on social media, and everyone thought he was still thought he was great. And so, he didn't respond at the time. But months later, when Brother Nathanael found out that I was no longer willing to have him on as a guest on my channel, he at that moment that got his attention, and he was like, well, oh, now you don't want me on your channel, huh? That's it. Well, I'm gonna come into your parish, because he's all of a sudden mad at my priest. And so I asked my priest, I said, well, me and my friends were like, well, let's ask for a blessing first, before we bring him out. Because months later, Brother Nathanael called me back and said, you want to bring me out? And so we asked for a blessing. This is basic Christian piety. You ask for a blessing for things. And priest said no. And furthermore, Brother Nathanael is not welcome at our parish. Now that really got Brother Nathanael mad. He started saying on his videos, oh, some Protestant priest in Oregon, trash talking our, bad mouthing our priest. He says, I'm going to come out anyways. And he made arrangements secretly, without my knowledge, to come out. And he was staying at a house of one of our parishioners who perhaps didn't know better at the time. And so he came out recently, and he, talked to the parishioner was talking to me and say, yeah, Brother Nathanael says he's sorry. He wants to put the water under the bridge. And so I thought we were all cool again. He unblocked me on Twitter. And so he wanted to give a talk to all the young men, in the area. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to call Brother Nathanael just to see, because the last time I had talked to him was on that interview, and he was very unpleasant with me, to put it bluntly. And I'm a very amiable person. So, to start acting like that with me, it takes a lot for me to get upset. I'll put it that way. But when I do, I really do. And so I called him. I wanted to make sure how he's going to treat me, if he's going to still be, this antagonistic person. And when I talked to him on the phone, that was when I mentioned earlier that he was just heaping abuse on top of my head. And I decided to call it off. None of us went. We didn't go to the talk. There was no talk. He went and held his sign up for a couple hours and left the state. Thank God. He's gone, and he's hopefully not coming back. So there you have it. Let me finish reading the letter. I'm almost done reading the letter. I spoke to BN recently on the phone, and it was clear that he would not hear me. In fact, all he did was heap abuse on my head. I was so upset by his behavior that I would ask that you advise BN not to have contact with me in the future, for the sake of my psychological health. I also ask that you consider my words and offer to BN what guidance you deem appropriate. I thank you for your service to the church, because I always feel that we have strong leadership with you at the helm of our diocese. I have CC'd, redacted. Bowing to you with respect and kissing your hand, unworthy sinner, Daniel. So there you have it. You have heard my letter read. You have heard my thoughts on Brother Nathanael. He was a schismatic monk in old Calendarist Orthodox monasteries for 10 years, and then he joined the Russian church. And I think he still is influenced a lot by what he learned in those churches. So I do have a few closing statements here. I'm kind of getting tired of talking about Brother Nathanael. What is Brother Nathanael's place? What is his place in the church? Is he accomplishing any good? What is he doing now? Obviously, he can't talk about ecclesiological matters because he gets things wrong all the time. So he needs to stay out of these inner matters that pertain to the church. So what is he doing now? Well, all Orthodox Christians online basically are shunning him. Nobody follows him that's Orthodox. All of his followers are young, racist kids who love Hitler and, are, white powers, white supremacist kind of guys, so that's the whole thing. He's into all this racialism stuff, and he's into politics, white nationalism. That's what he's pushing right now. And so, what good is he even accomplishing? I don't really think you're not going to accomplish much working in politics. We all know that the real answer is to live a pious, holy life, to become holy. That's how we change the world. You're not accomplishing any good working like he is in politics, honestly. So that's my take. What is his place in the church? Does he have a place? Is he doing any good? Maybe he's bringing some attention to the church, maybe. And that's what I think he does. He does bring a little, he's famous, people know him. He brings attention to the church. And here is my last slide of Brother Nathanael. Brother Nathanael holding up a sign. This is what he does. Okay? He goes, he holds up a cross, he holds up a sign, and he brings attention to the church. Have you ever seen those people who stand out in front of maybe a weed dispensary or a pizza shop, and they hold the sign, the sign spinners? They hold a sign and say, $5 pizza in here. That's what Brother Nathanael's doing. It's not a great job. It's a thankless job. It's a hard job. You don't get paid much. And that's what he's doing. He's a sign spinner. In conclusion, Brother Nathanael is the sign spinner of the Orthodox Church. And that is what good he does. So at least, if he's doing any good, he's bringing a little bit of attention to the church. Maybe it's negative attention. Maybe it's not. But, honestly, I mean, he is a brilliant, talented individual. And so he's trying to use his talents. I think he's really trying. He's really trying to do the best thing, that he can. And he's trying to use the talents that he has. He fails in many areas, but I hope that, I think he's trying to do the best that he can. And I hope that God in the end will have mercy on him and will that his good deeds will outweigh his bad deeds, as I pray for myself even, and for you who are watching. So that's my conclusion. And, I think I'm going to stop there. And so there you have it. You've seen me eviscerate Brother Nathanael publicly on YouTube. Thank you all for watching. And, I hope Brother Nathanael will be, will change his ways for the better. Good night and God bless.